Alright, this was 6 months ago. I decided to order some material to finish the interior of the house. The house was still, as you can see here on the left, with the MGO boards installed. The insulation of the exterior, the windows and doors, and all the progress that we have done over the past 6 months that I showed in other videos was not still there. And these were a pallet full of boards, and each board is very heavy. I don't remember how much, like 25 kilograms, something like this. And it took me a while to get them all to the house. It was very hot as well. It was like 40 degrees because it was in the middle of summer. I needed to move it inside the house because I couldn't leave the drywall on the outside getting wet during the night. So I decided to go one by one, slowly take all the boards inside the house. I decided to actually put them here on my left. As you can see right there, it's very windy, and the tunnel, the passage that we did, gets a lot of wind, so every time that I go with the board I almost hit the wall. So here is the place that I decided to leave the boards at, mainly because it's the bigger space that we have with the bigger door, and also because it was going to be out of the way for other work that I needed to do. Here is all the material that I offloaded and all the material that I'm going to be using in this video. Insulation, I think there are 15 packages and 25 boards. This is 6 months later. As you can see, the window on the left is already installed. Well, the sliding door on the left is already installed. First, I decided to clean the structure very well because, you know, it wasn't that dirty, but it was a little bit dirty, and it didn't take me long to vacuum it so I can do things properly. Here I'm putting my gloves on. I don't like working with gloves very much, but this material is not good for you at all. They say that it's soft to your hands and to your lungs and things like that in the package, but my experience is that it becomes itchy when you are working with them for a long time. So rather than just trusting what the package says, I decided to put gloves on. I didn't use a mask at the beginning because, you know, it wasn't supposed to be harmful to you. But as you can see in a few minutes, as I kept working, I decided to put a mask on. The first thing that I did was to install all the rectangle areas, because as you can see, the structure has some triangle reinforcements, and they are a little bit more complicated to insulate. So I decided to just focus on the rectangle ones and do the custom cuts later. Here I am already using the mask because I could already feel that my lungs, you know, were itching a little bit, my nose. So I decided to put just a mask, which I hate very much. After that, I cut small pieces to fill all the small spaces above the panels, because the panels were not long enough for me to fill them with just one board. So I cut small pieces and made sure that everything was insulated. And here I'm just cutting triangle shapes. Blocken, the manufacturer of this structure, likes to put a lot of reinforcements. You know, they are very good in terms of structural properties, but to insulate is a bit of a pain in the butt. But here, after half a day of work, I already had this full wall. I insulated the whole thing, as you can see. Even on the top of the wall where I have some spaces, I fitted with some insulation inside. And now I needed to move to this other wall. Before doing that, I needed to move all the packages because they were actually in front of the wall. Alright, it's 6 p.m. I went home to have lunch like an hour ago. There is not much light now, but I wanted to finish this wall, at least half of it. So I'm gonna resume working. I'm just gonna use this external light and just bouncing it against that wall. For this second wall, I already knew what I was doing. First of all, I put my shirt on with long sleeves so I don't get all these fibers in my sweatshirt. And I went one by one. The goal was to fill all the rectangular base, and by the time that I finished that, I decided it was going to be enough for that day. This is the next day. I wanted to show you guys this detail. I am removing the paper of the insulation for this section. The reason is because there is going to be a fireplace right in front of that section of the wall. So it's better to remove the paper, just because, you know, paper might catch fire and you don't want fire inside your wall. And now that I'm talking about paper, paper is actually a vapor barrier. It works to keep the vapor that you create inside the space away from the insulation. You need to install the paper always facing in the warm face of the space. So in this case, during winter, we're gonna be heating this space from the interior. So you need to put the paper facing to the interior. That way water doesn't condensate in the cold face of the insulation, and you stop the vapor in the warm side of the insulation. That way it doesn't condensate. I decided to put this point of view so you can see the fibers flying around the air, as you can see through the sunlight, which by the way is a beautiful image, isn't it? Oh my god, it looks so good. It seems like I have done it with post-production, but it's not. I promise you that those are the fibers flying in the air, and that's why you need to wear a mask. It doesn't matter what people say or what the brand says. You don't want those fibers inside your system. I'm sure you can, you know, your system is smart enough to remove them, or that's what I read. But you know, if you don't have those fibers inside your system, it is much better, so your body doesn't have to work without needing it. Here I'm finishing the top section of this wall. This is a detail that I shot for you guys. I am insulating the whole thing and not leaving any space open. After that, I needed to, before insulating this last wall, there is going to be an air conditioning right on the top right here, where the red cable is. For each AC unit, you need to have a pipe to evacuate the condensation of the AC unit. So that's the white pipe that I'm feeding right now. I needed to drill a hole in order to make it go exactly where I wanted. I made sure that the pipe was exactly where I needed and drill a hole so I could pass a zip tie. That way I can hold the pipe in place. I didn't like how the metal was touching the pipe. I'm building this house for I don't want to be fixing anything, to be honest, in the future. So I want to build everything properly so nothing gets damaged, or at least I'm gonna try my best so nothing gets broken in the future. So that's why I decided to cut this corrugated pipe, this red one, to protect the pipe from touching the metal. Here is a detail on this hole. This is actually a hole that is pre-cut in the structure, so I didn't cut this hole, but I drilled this hole. I spray painted with zinc spray paint to protect it from rusting, and then I cut this small piece of corrugated pipe that I use for the electrical cables. And it was just the right size, the perfect size for this pipe. Fit very snug. And now I just use a zip tie and hold it in place so it doesn't move. That way, if it moves in the future with the use and things like that, you're not rubbing the pipe against the steel, and potentially, so it's protected now with the corrugated pipe. This task took me 2 days, I think, to finish. 2 days or 2 days and a half. It was a very tedious job. Here, for example, I am insulating some small spaces behind the structure that it was impossible to reach by hand, so I used a screwdriver. I try to insulate the whole thing, mainly because once you cover the wall with drywall, there is no way back. You cannot insulate it again. So it's a job that you do once and it's done for life. As I was saying, it's a job that I didn't particularly enjoy, to be honest. You get to see progress, you get some dopamine rush from it because you see a lot of progress, but working with the mask and with the glasses and with the gloves, and my nose was running a little bit from using the mask. I didn't enjoy it, to be honest. I mean, it was okay for, you don't need to love everything you do, you just need to do it whenever it's necessary. But this job was completed, as you can see. The whole workshop was completely insulated. I vacuumed very well everything, so I don't have these fibers flying around for the rest of the build. And now I'm ready for drywall.
Always had a way to make it work and find another route. Always had a way to make it work and find another route. Always had a way to make it work and find another route. Always had a way to make it work and find another route.
This is a brand new screw gun that I'm gonna be using. It is specifically designed for drywall, and these are the screws that I'm going to be using. Here is a detail of them. Well, this is a detail of the actual screw, but I am gonna put an image of the actual product. There you go. So you can see there are self-tapping screws. Normal drywall screws will not drill the structure from blocking because the structure is very thick. Normal drywall screws are not able to perforate the steel, so I use these special ones. And this is a 3D printed object that I did a couple of months ago to lift the board exactly at the height that I needed. I'm gonna be installing 2 boards, one first layer of this white drywall and then a second layer of a special drywall that is harder. This first drywall is just a simple drywall, normal one, basic. So I'm gonna be lifting this first wall 1 centimeter off the floor, and to do that I printed a spacer, so it helps me installing the drywall. This is actually the very first time that I'm working with drywall. I cut that piece to length, and I was trying to get the board to its place. It was supposed to go on that left corner over there, but I didn't have a space, to be honest. I was struggling a little bit to make it work. And then on top of that, I realized that it touches the structure on the ceiling, as you can see. I didn't know that when I was starting, so I decided to turn around and try to think a way of doing it. I had my plans before doing this, but once you start doing things, your plans most of the time go away, and you need to figure things out as they come. Like here, the board didn't fit the space that I left, and it was kind of a mess, to be honest, but I made it work. Here I'm testing my new drywall screw gun. You can set the depth of the screw. You just need to push the gun against the board, and once the screw is set to the depth that you wanted, the screw gun actually stops. These are the 3D printed spacers that I talked about earlier. They work very well. They have two sides. One is 10 millimeters and the other is 7.5, and I use the 10. This first board, it was a little bit of a struggle to install, but it was properly installed, and now I knew a little bit better what I was doing. This rainy season is finally coming to its end, so we have started thinking about going back to the van for some weeks. Last time we traveled in our van, we struggled with electricity, but that will not happen to us ever again. I have got the EcoFlow alternator charger, and you could be thinking, Pepe, how will that small device help you at all? Don't let its size fool you. This product is a beast. It connects to the battery of our van and will charge my portable power station at 500 watts, which is a very high rate. That means that we can top up to 1000 watts-hour in just 2 hours while on the go. That is 5 times faster than traditional chargers. But is it hard to install? Alright, this is extremely easy to install. Basically, you have a fuse cable with this eyelet connection to the battery, and you connect, red color to the red positive of the battery, and then you connect this end of this cable, the red one, to the other end of the fuse. So the red cable is connected to the positive of the battery with a fuse in between, and then this other black eyelet from this cable goes to the negative of the battery, and then you have 5 meters to guide through the space that you have in your car or in your van or in your truck, and you connect this guy to the alternator charger here, and then in this other end, this other cable, and then this other end goes to the battery. So every time that you turn on the car, you are charging with 500 watts the external battery, and it is a game changer. But rather than just telling you, I'm gonna do it. And it is not only a charger, but a 3-in-1 device. It charges, and it also works as a maintainer and as a jump starter. So basically, here is my battery. Here is the negative, that's the positive, and I plan on passing the cable through that hole there that connects to the interior of the cabin, and then I will pass the cable through here all the way to the back door. So it will come over here, and I will be able to charge the battery up here. Under a reverse charging mode, I can quickly recharge my van's starter battery and jump started with it. And in the battery maintenance mode, it gently feeds our power station with lower electrical current, extending its lifespan. It is compatible with EcoFlow and most third-party power stations, and with most alternators. And as I'm showing in the video, it is plug and play, and all the material is included in it. The input cable, the XT60 output cable, and the fuse cable, so it comes with all you need to install it in your vehicle. It has been designed and built with safety as the most important aspect of all, including 4 different protection systems to ensure the safety of the vehicle, so you can drive while charging, being sure that you and your car are safe. You can control the device from the EcoFlow app from your smartphone, and also directly from your vehicle's infotainment system, as it integrates with both Apple iOS, CarPlay and Android Auto. Everything at your fingertips directly from your vehicle. Click the link below and use my code to get an extra 5% off on all sales products for your spring to summer adventure, valid until May 28th. Alright, I have installed the first one, and as you could see, it was a bit of a struggle, just because these boards are in here and I don't have a space there. The space that I have here is 1 meter and 10 centimeters, and the boards are 120, so I couldn't, I was planning to install that one in this bay, but I didn't have a space to work with them, and instead of moving them all to the left, I'm just gonna go ahead and start cladding this area. The boards are very heavy because I ordered 3 meters long boards, just so I had the whole height of the wall in one board, which is, you know, is very good. But the bottom side, yeah, the downside is they are extremely heavy for one person alone. Yeah, but I will manage. This is the first board, so I'm gonna be cladding with a second layer, but it won't be this board. It will be a special one, which is harder, better material than this one. It's just a first board that is gonna be hidden underneath the second one. Let's see if this one is slightly easier. The first one is most important one, to make sure that it's perfectly aligned and nice, because the other ones are gonna follow after them, and they're gonna be just touching each other. In the end, I realized it was a very good decision to start using panels for this second wall, so I can have more space later for the other wall. I use the laser a lot. Here I'm putting the laser right in the middle, so I know exactly where the screws need to be. Later I realized that the board has some printed marks in the middle and in where you are supposed to install screws, so I didn't need to use the laser for the middle anymore. But I still use the laser a lot to make sure that each board that I install was perfectly vertical. I didn't rely on the structure, even though the structure very straight and vertical. I decided not to trust the structure for that and use the laser, so I didn't accumulate errors every time that I install a board. Here is gonna be an outlet, so I mark the position of the outlet. This is the mark that I made for the outlet. I was about to drill, and then, you know, I realized, hey, I didn't check. I thought I checked. I decided, hey, I don't know if I check. So I decided to triple check before drilling the hole. A lot of people say it, but it's better to measure twice and cut once. Because you might ruin a full board. As you can see, the board is super tall. It's the whole height of the wall. That's very good, so you don't have horizontal lines in the whole house, and it speeds up the finishing work very much. I cut myself changing the X-Acto knife blade. It hurt a lot. I don't enjoy blood very much, and so I tape it and put the gloves on and continue working. This is a beautiful light, man. It's the first time that I see the shadow work of the sunlight in what it looks like a finished wall, and I really enjoy it, so I filmed it for you guys. Here's I was going to install this last board. It was like a few millimeters too thick, so instead of cutting, I use this tool that is like a sander for drywall, and I remove a few millimeters off where I need it, and the board fit. Now, with less boards on this side and with a little bit more experience on how to manage the boards, I continue working on this side. I, as you can see, set the laser at the exact height where I have that horizontal reinforcement, so I can screw the board there. The boards don't have marks on that height because that height is actually custom on my structure, so that's why I use the laser. And that's the end of the day. That's the work that I did in one day. Not bad for being my first time working with drywall. I did half of the space, and I was very happy with the layout of the screws and how clean everything looked. Later on, I decided to stagger the screws because I saw it somewhere. But here I put the screws all next to each other. I don't know why staggering is gonna be better, but just in case, I started doing it like that later. And now I just need to finish that wall. This left side, I'm not gonna be putting drywall because I still need to install pipes, water pipes for the sink that is gonna be there. So I'm just gonna be doing this right side. At the beginning I was making these cuts with the X-Acto knife, but I didn't like how they came out, it wasn't clean enough. So I started using the multi-tool to make these straight cuts. I was very happy, so moving forward I'm gonna be using the multi-tool for these cuts. And here is the last hole that I needed to do. I checked underneath to make sure that I wasn't drilling through more than one board because it wouldn't be the first time. And I drilled the hole for the electrical. This is gonna be an outlet. No, actually it's gonna be a hole for the AC unit. By the way, I made a mistake after that hole that I changed the blade. As you can see, this is a little bit bigger hole. I made the mistake of not putting back the old blade, and for now on all the holes that I did for outlets, I did them with a circle that is bigger than what I need. So I'm gonna need to figure that one in the future. It's not a big deal because this is the first board. I'm gonna be putting a second board on top, but later on, actually now that I just finished doing some more drywall in the house, I made the mistake of not changing the bit, and I need to figure something out to fix it. After finishing the drywall, I went to the hardware store and bought several steel profiles. This is just from drywall profiles. They are not light steel framing, they're thinner profiles and cheaper and much easier to use. I bought plenty, as you can see, because I have still to do a couple of interior walls. But right now I'm doing this wall. It's gonna be a wall that covers that door. I'm gonna explain it in a minute. But before doing that, I needed to insulate the sound of this pipe. This pipe is the pipe that goes from the roof and collects all the rainwater. We have actually 4 pipes, so this is not the only one, but this is the only one inside this workshop, inside this space, so I need to insulate it. So I'm gonna be using this insulation. I read few reviews and it was the one that came out with better reviews, and for the scenario that I had, it was the one that they recommended the best, everybody. So I ordered a roll so I could test it in this first pipe and make sure that does a good job. It's self-adhesive, as you can see, but the problem is that it has to be hot. The air temperature has to be somewhat above 20 degrees or something like that. In my case, this was a cold, rainy day, so the adhesive wouldn't stick to the pipe. I even cleaned it, as you could see, with a rag. But I was putting it and the material will come off. So I thought if this needs to go with a hotter temperature, it could work if I just heat it with the heat gun. It is a battery powered heat gun, so it's not very powerful, but for this kind of situations it does a very good job and I like it very much. It's good to have it in your toolbox. I just set it at the lower temperature and keep heating the material until it became sticky again, so it could adhere to the pipe. I got this square piece, and before installing it, I decided to actually heat it on the floor before attempting to install it. This is kind of a tricky situation because I have a 45 degrees there, and it didn't came out very good. You know, it's gonna be hidden anyways, but I didn't like it. I was even considering not putting this image in the video because I'm not proud of how that came out. But here you have it. In case you do it and you do it as bad as I did, you can be at ease that I did it also not very well. But anyways, I continued insulating the pipe until I reached the top. Basically, I just cut some pieces. I didn't want to do very long pieces, so I cut, I don't remember exactly, but around like 1 meter. Cut the piece and heat it and then install it. I will remove the plastic that covers the adhesive, which it doesn't adhere at all. I heat the whole surface in the low temperature setting of the heat gun, and then I just continue heating it to finish installing it. These vertical ones are much easier to install compared to the 45 degrees angle. Alright, I'm just missing this bottom part, but I decided to seal the pipe with black MS. Also, I sealed underneath the wall there, because once I finish insulating the rest of the pipe, I will build a wall. So this door enters in a pocket, so you won't be seeing the glass, you know what I mean? Like if I open the door, you see the glass there, and that's not how it's designed to be. There will be a wall in front of it covering it. And now, since the MS glue that I use, the sealant that I use is still wet, I cannot put the sound insulation on the pipe. It's wet in there, but it's gonna be a mess if I start messing around it because it's still wet. So what I'm gonna do is get ready to build this wall. And I just remember that I got black paint because you can see the wall when the door is when the door is like in between being open and closed, like it's closed. When it's open, it's alright because the frame covers everything, and but when it's in the middle, you can see the wall behind, which is this wall. So I don't mind it, but I also don't like it at the same time. So we decided to paint a portion here in black, so when you look through this cavity, all you see is black, and that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna do 20 centimeters more. Like, you cannot see anything, but that's the case. Alright, that's the same day, but later in the day. The MS was already dried, so I finished, as you can see in the back, insulating the pipe, but I didn't film it. And now I'm gonna start with this wall. As you can see, I am taping some sort of foam that you need to install underneath the steel profiles before you install them, touching the concrete. It's actually good to do mostly for sound insulation, and also in my case it's good so the steel doesn't touch the concrete. I just drill some holes and screw it to the floor. With the bottom track already installed, I set the laser completely flush to the wall. That way I could see the plane of the wall that I wanted. The wall is gonna be flush to the frame of the door, so it's very easy for me to set the laser touching right the frame of the door and projecting it to the wall. That way I have a perfect plane, and I just needed to set the first stud against the wall. I remember where the steel was underneath it, so I screw the stud directly to the steel structure that is behind the drywall. And then here is a detail of how I am cutting the profiles. I very much like the grinder. I became very good with the grinder. But you know, it was raining, and this type of profiles you are supposed to cut it with scissors. I mean, you can cut it with whatever you want. Like if you have a grinder, you can use a grinder. But I have these Baco scissors that I never used, and decided to, you know, like be a good YouTuber and show more tools. And it's okay. I mean, the scissor is very good. It cuts through the steel very well. But I think I prefer cutting these profiles with the grinder. I mean, the grinder is messier because you make sparks everywhere, and you know the sparks are actually tiny bits of metal that stains the floor. So if you are in an environment that you cannot use a grinder, I get why people use the scissors. But I think the grinder is a much faster tool to do this job. That being said, I actually use the scissor for pretty much the whole job, because it was cleaner and I didn't want to make a mess inside the workshop. Alright, I continue working, and again I set the laser for every stud that I install. I know it's an overkill. Some people might say that I do things very slowly, you know, but I really enjoy doing it like this. You know, you set the laser, you make sure it's vertical, it's perfectly plumbed, and you know, every stud that you install is just how it needs to be, so you don't accumulate errors. Here I'm doing the stud that is on the left. This is gonna be butting against the frame of the door, so I didn't need the laser for it, and I just set the laser to make sure that it was actually a perfect plane, and it was. So I just installed the top track of the wall. Here again, I'm using the laser to make sure that the top track is horizontal. I am measuring from the top of the track to the line that you can see. This is the highest I can set the tripod at, so I couldn't actually put the laser on top. So I was measuring from the top of the track to the line of the laser to make sure that it was horizontal. It wasn't, so that's why you saw me cutting with the grinder a little bit. And then once I made sure that it was good, I crimp it with a tool that I didn't actually show you guys. I didn't film it, but I will show you in a future episode. I didn't use screws for this. It's a special tool, and this is the finished job. It came out very nice. I'm very proud of it. I even sealed the right side of the door, so the pocket door is actually closed off. the pipe is insulated, perfectly insulated. And here's what I was saying, I close the side with drywall, so the actual pocket is closed, so we don't get, mice or anything going inside that wall through the hole of the pocket door. And there you go, you can see that the wall is flush to the frame of the door. And now I'm just passing through some pipes for electrical that were missing because I didn't have the wall to pass the pipe, so I needed to install the frame before doing this electrical job. It was just a couple of outlets and another outlet that is going to be for the Ethernet and internet connection, so that's why you can see a green corrugated pipe, which is for communications, and the red one is electrical. And here I am cutting pieces of insulation and putting it right behind the pipe wherever I could fit it with my hands and even with the screwdriver. I just wanted to fill as much as I could with this mineral wool insulation, which actually is very good also, not only for insulating the heat, but also for insulating the noise. And I was able to do 2 layers because the wall was thick enough for me to install a first layer, which I removed the paper, as you could see, and then I put a second layer here with the paper facing the inside. This is gonna be for the top part. I remove the paper and then this first layer without paper, and then a final layer with paper. All these cables that you can see on top, it's gonna be a connection box. That box is going to be actually in that wall. It is the only room of the whole house where the connection box is gonna be seen. I could either have the box here or all the way on the left where there is going to be a wardrobe, so I could hit the box, but I didn't want to bring all those cables all the way to the other side of the room because they are coming actually from the mechanical room already on the other side of the passage. So I decided that I'm gonna be having one box seen. I will show you the box in a little bit. During this time, Eugenia was cooking a lot because she was preparing some new recipes. So I was a tester for her for her food, and it was a good life, man. Every day I have a few cakes to bring to the building site, and even she brought me new cakes. So every time that I stopped, I have a piece of cake, some water, made sure that I knew what I was doing, and continue working. Alright, this is how I cut the drywall. It's very easy. You just need an X-Acto knife and some sort of ruler. You can cut either side. I cut it here, for example, from the top because that's how the board was. Once you cut the paper, you just push it and the drywall breaks, and then you just need to cut the other side of the paper. And this is the sander that I use. I don't know the name in English. I'm sure you guys could know, so if you know, put it in the comments. But I started sanding all the edges also every time that I cut, so you get a clean job. And this is the hole for the electrical box that I just mentioned. I cut it with the multi-tool, and since I cannot reach the corners, I use the X-Acto knife to cut all the way through. and that's the box. You know, once painted with the same color of the wall, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal anyways. But you know, I rather don't see the boxes. That's why the house, I made sure not to have any seam boxes. In this workshop, we're gonna have a box. You can see the hole there on the left, and this board is very heavy. Again, I said a couple of times, but it actually is. And as you can see on the right, there is a board that is broken in half, and that was this same board for this same space. Lifting it like this, it's very brittle, so it breaks. It could break, and it broke, as you can see on the right. I have the leftover there against the wall, so I needed to be careful when lifting it, not to put too much tension on the board, because they might break on half. I was able to lift this one without breaking it, so that was good news, and I was almost ready to finish the drywall of the workshop. Qué bueno, tío. La presión al oído. I'm just missing this section here, as you can see. It's open, but I wanted to show you what I'm doing here. This is the frame of the door, and we had planned on covering it as much as possible with the drywall. So basically, we're gonna extend, instead of putting the drywall here, we made this door flush to the inner wall, as you can see, so we can extend the drywall and extend it over it, and just leave a small corner there. A small corner. Probably it's even less, I think. Maybe I'm gonna leave like something like this, you know. So when we do the corner trim and attach it, basically we won't see any of the door. Like, we will only see the glass. I think it's a very neat finish.
On a cold night tonight. On a cold night tonight.
Sorry, I'm very sweaty. I just came back from running. I ran today, my long run of the week. Eugenia was not ready to have breakfast, so I just took a shower and came back. So even though I took a shower, I'm still sweating. And the moment that I started moving these panels, my body thought that it was running again, and I'm all sweaty. I wanted to show you guys, I don't know if you can hear, the water, because it's raining a little bit, so there is water coming through these pipes that come from the roof, and since the water comes here, it hits here, I make some noise. And I just want to take you to the room that I insulated the pipe. I don't know if you remember, in this, I think it's gonna be in this same episode. The pipe was behind this wall. You see, I'm not lying. The door is there, the pipe was there, and this is the pipe that I insulated. And as you can hear, I mean, I don't think I can hear anything, but let me close the door. I think we made it work. I mean, I wasn't 100% sure because it's actually the first time I do this, but I think we were able to insulate the noise 100%. I will need to test it a day that is raining harder than this, but I was a little bit afraid of, I wasn't very concerned when it's raining a lot, because you know, you can understand that if it rains a lot, then rain makes some noise. But I was just afraid of the little drops, you know, because every night you get dew. It's very humid around here, so we get out of dew, and that dew is gonna start dripping, you know. So if we are like sleeping or something like that, I didn't want to hear it. But nope, it is fixed. Basically, the plan was to get all this space with drywall, and but not because I wanted to do the drywall very fast, that because the drywall was here and I needed to remove it, because I'm going to start sealing the floors. This is the next task that I'm gonna do, to seal all the floor before I continue working. So, I mean, if we had this drywall here sitting, there were like 25 panels, 25 boards, I would have needed to be moving boards from one place to another while I was sealing the floor. So the idea was to actually use the panels that I bought and start installing them. I had like 10 leftovers, which were the ones that I just moved to the house. And what I'm gonna do now is use those 10 panels next. First in the kitchen, I'm gonna be cladding that wall finally. And then if I have some more left over, I will just clad walls in between, like the walls of the studio. Maybe I can clad this wall and have it covered. So just clad one face, so I still have access for any more installations that I need to install, like water. I mean, won't be water in any of these walls, but you know, in the kitchen, for example, there will be water. So I want to leave one face open so I can have access to it. And if I have more left over, I will clad this wall. And yeah, that's the plan. So, but first thing I'm gonna do before I start cladding walls is to actually insulate this pipe again, so we can say goodbye to this noise, you know. I'm gonna organize this because it's a mess right now, and I'm gonna start working. All right, guys. So this is going to be part of the next episode. I was getting ready to seal the floor, and for that I needed to use the tool that I'm about to show you guys. It was the first time that I used that tool. Sometimes, I struggle a little bit with new tools and I don't get to film myself struggling, and I feel like the struggle that sometimes I go through doesn't get shown in the videos very much for some reason, even though I don't know why, but you're about to see what a new tool might do to you if you don't have any experience with it.